with Soar, and this is our Coach Uplift Weekly. Say that again, Coach Uplift Weekly, where we provide tips, tools, best practices for coaches. It's free. We just want as many people as we can to engage and offer and share. We have made this a meeting this week, so if you are on the actual webinar, welcome. Get ready, because I will be asking you to speak up. I'm going to ask you to put yourself on mute, though, until then. And if you have, I want to make sure that I check the chat. I tend to get in the zone, if you will. So chat. Okay, no. So if you want to chat, you can. If you're on a Facebook land, I have it up on my phone, so I'll be checking the chat on there as well. So please feel free to offer chats in there. Say where you are, who you are, where you're from, and share. This week, and if you know of somebody in the future you would like to have featured, they have something to offer, they've been coaching a while, or they have a specific method that maybe other coaches can learn from, email me at connect, CONNECT, at soar.com, and I would love to take a look at their background, their LinkedIn, maybe send me their LinkedIn profile, and we'll see if we can't see if they're a good fit. We have also started the DEC series, Development, Engagement, and Communication, every other Tuesday. We just did it this last Tuesday. If you haven't registered for that, email me as well, and I could get the registration link to you. And that is aimed at organizations, and we're driving traffic to your profiles. So if you have a corporate client that you work with and they do really good work in either development, engagement, or communications, or all three, on Tuesday we had a fabulous guest, had a beer. They've been ranked a top workplace in Memphis 3 years in a row. They've grown from 40 to 168 employees with very low, less than 3% turnover. So that's what we're doing, and you will get a shout out too, so you can use it in your press that you have and anything that you're doing to let people know who you are. So it's worth it. Anyhow, so let's get on with it today. What we're going to be talking about today, and I think I put out there, I put out there the 5 practices to teach a manager on how to coach their team members and set expectations. And as I was putting this together, I said, no, wait, we're going to give you 2 more bonuses, 2 more practices. Now, some of this, for some of you, I think is going to be relatively, maybe it's nothing new that you've heard, but I've spoke with a few coaches this last week about corporate clients and just, offering what I can. For those of you who don't know my background, the last 10 years I've been coaching and built a couple platforms, but I worked with organizations and I did a lot in the corporate world. Before that, I was a director of sales for cars.com and have worked my way up from a sales rep and regional manager, strategic sales manager, built a strategic team, grew up there is what I tell everybody, and hired a lot of people. And in fact, a lot of them are still there. And then as a director, then, and before that, I was in different sales jobs, and I was a manager at the age of 27 in a political organization, and everybody I managed there was 27 people. I had a very large territory. They were all twice my age, and it was in politics. And I had a wonderful mentor boss who really set me up on my way of understanding what leadership is. And I truly believe, when I look back, without that experience, I don't know if my passion around leadership would be as much as where it is today without that first experience. So some of this may be elementary to some of you, but some of you, maybe this is going to help you. I believe that if you are a coach, you can coach anybody. I've coached doctors, I've coached CEOs, I've coached prisoners. I have coached and counseled, because I have a master's in pastoral counseling, people with mental illness. So I believe a good coach can actually coach anybody, right? Because you really know how to get into the mindset of a coach and ask good questions. And when you are coaching for a corporation or they've hired you to coach somebody for them, it can be a little bit different. And there are some differences and there's some nuances. And if you don't have experience, I don't believe you have to have experience in everything to be a good coach. But when you're working with corporations, and especially managers who are growing, it just helps to understand their mindset a little bit so that you can ask better questions. Does that make sense to everybody? I have your faces over here on Facebook land. Yes, does that make sense to everybody? Okay, so my goal of today was basically to give you some basic things so that when you go to coach people who are managers, that you can help elevate their experience, first of all, being a manager, and just empower you to even be a better coach, just to help you with the mindset. So that's what today is really all about. So I'm looking for input from all of you on Facebook and on the webinar, so I'll be anxious to hear your feedback. So let's first talk about manager challenges. What are managers responsible for? And what are their challenges? Because I think it really starts here when you have a manager, and I'll say this, often companies will hire a coach for a manager, either when they're brand new, which is great, or when they're on their way out, which is unfortunate, right? And when we really want to coach them is when they're new, or actually when they're doing awesome, but they want to go be better. Of course, that's one of my personal missions in this world, is to change that perception. And that's why the DEC series is so important, because we want companies to understand that coaching and coaching their team members should be for the top people, the top 20%. And those of you, we know we have team leaders and managers that watch this replay. And I hope that you take this to heart as well, that coaching should be for your top people, not for the bottom people, right? The ones that are moving up, not the ones you're trying to move out. Like, I think we get that wrong. So I want to preface it with that. But with that, what are things that managers are in charge of? What are their challenges? So I've listed a few here. Time, right? Most managers, when you talk to them about coaching their employees, and you guys here on the webinar, if you agree with this, or if you have, chat, definitely chat this in there. If you have experience with this. Usually when you talk about coaching with them and how they should coach their team or their members, it's usually like, oh, I don't have time for that, right? Like, have you ever heard of that before? Coaching people takes so much time, right? I just want them to go why can't they just go do their job? Have you ever heard that? Yes? Yeah. See, it's interesting, right? Because they have this perception that they just want to be able to direct them and not coach them. And one of the main reasons is because they're responsible for results. So if they are responsible for results, it's funny because when coaches, usually when I've helped them go get corporate contracts before, they'll usually want to go in to a company, an HR director, the vice president of sales, vice president of development, whoever they're working with, and they go in with, oh, your people need this, and you'll love it. I call it the you'll love it approach. And oh my gosh, this is what we need in this world, and I'm really good, and you know what, this company I worked for, blah, they sell on passion. And the reason they don't get that a lot of times is because they don't talk about the results. Somebody who is, so this is kind of a bonus for everybody. When you're pitching a company or organization, and if you're internal and you want something from your boss, this works for you too. It is about the result. Here's what coaching does. It brings engagement, lower turnover, higher engagement, results quicker, higher productivity. Talk to what they want. Because CEOs, if you ask them what's most important to them, they'll say revenue and results. And employee will say development and where am I going? So it's our job, I feel that's where our opportunity is to lessen that gap, bring it together. So they're responsible for results. responsible to engage, inspire, get their people moving, right? Adapt to new situations, especially like we've had this last year. I mean, they have to deal with different personalities. Oh, I can remember managing some managers that just truly wanted to hire people just like them because it was easier, but that put a lid on what they were going to be able to achieve. So I want to open this up a little bit. What else are managers responsible for? What else are managers responsible? You can unmute yourself or chat it in on Facebook if you are there. What else are managers responsible for? Like, what are their challenges?
Well, hiring people, you know, that's a big, it's a big part.
Yeah, oh my gosh, yes, most managers have to hire, right? And so if they're hiring people and they're responsible for that, which just means they're responsible for lowering turnover, and yet they don't have time to coach, right? Like, again, if you don't want to have to hire as many people, take the time to coach them and you won't have to take time to do interviews.
Or when you do hire them, be sure to onboard them appropriately.
Yes, onboarding is huge. And man, we could have a whole nother webinar just on that alone. So yeah, so there's so many things. And the reason this is important is because as coaches, when you start to talk to them about coaching, their perceptions are going to be all over the place. One of them is it takes too long. Why do you think this is? Anybody here? Why do you think? Now, again, I know I'm retraining you guys. You're used to having your cameras off and just listening. But if you are here or on Facebook, right, what are some other perceptions of coaching when you're teaching a manager how to do it with their people? Anything from, I mean, take too long is one, and I could name off a whole bunch of them. A perception is also like, it's too touchy-feely, right? Oh, does this mean I'm going to have to care? Yeah. This means you're going to have to care, right? Or they have this perception that, you know, business and personal, like I'm this way at work and I'm this way at home. And it's the soft stuff. Yes, the soft stuff. They don't want to do the soft stuff. And that's probably one of the hardest things to overcome when you're coaching a manager to understand what coaching is. Because if they are not vulnerable, their ability to be vulnerable is low, then they're not going to be able to connect with people. So one of the first things you're going to want to address is the perception of coaching and why it's so important and what it does for them. But this is what you need to understand is a lot of them they may have the idea or the feeling that, why can't they just go do their jobs? Well, people are messy. And guess what? It's our job to help them. You know, the old saying, Zig Ziglar said, they don't care how much you know until you know how much you care. And again, it doesn't mean you have to be best friends. So what does that mean? And that's what these 7 things are. First one is helping them understand the mindset about coaching. And then what do you do is often what I've found that when we're coaching managers, we talk too much about the employee too soon. And so that's why the soft stuff comes up. And where you really want to start with a manager who is learning how to coach employees is with their own mindset, right? What's in it for them if they coach their employees? It's going to help you be a better leader. You know, what do you want out of your job? You say you want to be a director someday. You're going to have to learn how to coach. So I think often as coaches, we or the client who is a manager wants to skip the step of actually digging into their psyche. We want to go straight into the tactics of coaching. And it's so important, and this is what I was talking with somebody this week about, it's so important that you start with their mindset first. What's in it, just like what's in it, we're going to teach them how to find out what's in it for the employee, what's in it for them. if they want to move up, well, being a coach is going to help you. Do you want to be #1 in your region? Guess what? Results, I promise you, coaching takes less time in the long run. So that's the tip, right? Start thinking long-term when it comes to coaching instead of short-term, and the mindset between manager and a leader. There's time, here's good leaders know when to manage, but good managers don't always know when to lead. So keep that in mind. Like that's, I used to use that all the time. Good managers, good leaders know when to manage. In other words, when to step in and show them what to do. And we'll talk about this. But good managers don't always know when to lead. And leading is being able to be comfortable in your own skin and ask questions and lead them and coach them versus directing. So does that make sense? So that's the first thing is start with the manager's mindset first and find out what they think about coaching. Because if you skip this step and you start going into tactical things they can do with their employees, you're missing a bigger opportunity to actually coach them long-term as well. So does that make sense to everybody? Okay, awesome. Now, let's see here. I want to make sure, if the managers have been exposed to a leader that has coached them, that helps out tremendously, right? They're typically much better at coaching their people. It's when it's been modeled. Yes, they get it much faster. I agree totally, Holly. If you're dealing with somebody, especially the younger generation, they are all about development and they're so educated. I love millennials, and I'll get off on a soapbox if I did a talk one day with a company in Tennessee, and they had millennials in there and they were mentoring them, but it was a lot of people my age and above, and they were talking kind of old school. And so when I got up to do my talk, I was like, I love millennials. I mean, they were standing up in the back going, yeah. Here's why. They are I think this is the most educated generation we've ever had. And I don't want to hear about, school loans, all of that, but they are, and they take pride in that. I mean, what they know today versus what I knew in their shoes, like when I was their age, is amazing. But what they have in education, they lack in wisdom. And so if you can help a younger person understand, a younger manager understand, I think we have so much opportunity to actually, we have the wisdom in it. And instead of beating them down and saying, what's wrong with these millennials? No, raise them up. Who should be mentoring them? We should be, right? Our parents said the same thing about us. So yes, it's all about being able to get them in this right mindset first and what's in it for them. So many managers are not given the proper support to transition. Yes, from individual contributor. It actually happens a lot in the sales environment too. Somebody who's great at sales, they make the manager. And it's like, just because they were great at sales doesn't mean they should be the leader, right? In fact, often they crash and burn because then they just want to go tell everybody what to do. Follow me, right? And I kind of had that a little bit. Follow me. I had a manager tell me everything I touch turns to gold. And then I kind of had that attitude, and not that I was arrogant. It's just my manager said I was good. Why don't you want to do it my way? So I wanted to go direct everybody, right? So I had to learn, maybe there's more than one way to do things, right? But it was a mindset, and I usually say it's self-awareness. My self-awareness was down here, great at skills, but my self-awareness was not there to be able to truly lead other people. I had to learn the hard way, if you will. The next thing then is discernment. Helping them understand discernment is one of the best things that you can help them learn to do with their team members. Hi, Carolyn. The skills that got you here are not the same. Yes, they're not the same skills that'll get you there. Absolutely. So here's one thing, and many of you may have seen the quadrant, right? It's willing, able, not willing, not able. But, and it sounds so simple, but this is one of the things to this day. Very simply, I will start with, even when I'm managing people where I'm at now or leading them, is, are they willing? Yes. Are they able? Yes. They're just not doing it? Oh, now we've got an attitude problem. Are they willing and not able? Now it's a skills problem. Are they able and not willing? Now we've got, well, why? Is it personal? Is it training? Is it lack of resources? So are they able? Are they not willing and not able? You need to get them out tomorrow, right? Like if they did a really good job in the interview, or they snowed you, or whatever it is. But this is one of the things I've always helped managers understand to be able to do very quickly, because some people are very good at reading people. You'll have, everybody says, oh, I'm really good at reading people. Okay, great. In fact, I don't think I've ever met somebody who says, I'm terrible at reading people. Like, that doesn't happen very often. Okay, so let's just assume everybody's really good at reading people. So with that assumption, when you have new managers, and if they, they may be their gut people, they're going to go with their gut. Okay, great. Or they go by data, fine too. Helping them to understand the both of those, and to be able to ask this: willing and able, willing, not able, able and not willing, or able and willing, or able and not willing, right? Like, understand those quadrants and to be able to do it in your head very quickly. So I used to have to ride in the car and do field rides with reps and managers. And this is how I would assess them before I'd go out every morning, especially when I was new as a manager. So are they willing? Yeah, they have a good attitude. They're always asking. They show up early. Are they able? Well, they're able in the sense that their ability to learn, right? They want to, they just don't know what they don't know. Okay, what can I help them with? Now we'll talk about the feedback here in a minute and how you set yourself up. But I think as a coach, helping managers, whether they're experienced, because I will tell you, I've had managers with 20 years experience, with 20 years of job experience, but really only 1 year of experience, right? Because they're in their own head, their way is right. They don't want to be vulnerable. They don't want to get out there and get to know people. You could be in a job for 20 years and only have 1 year's experience because they didn't want to grow themselves. So this is for managers who've been in their field a long time or brand new, but helping them discern very quickly what it is their job is with this particular person, right? Really broaden their perspective by using this very simple tactic. Okay, now I have all this things on here. I'm checking my time. I have everything with screens now and I can't see my time. Okay, keep going. The next practice, or the next skill they need to know, is problem solving. Typically, new managers and even experienced ones, like I've had CEOs go out on stage, unfortunately, at a conference. Oh my gosh, I can think of this one in particular. And I wasn't coaching him, I was coaching a manager underneath him. And this was one of the problems, is the CEO always had the answer. And what he did is he actually went out on the stage at a conference and told the wrong data, told the wrong thing to do, because his own ego didn't want to go actually figure out the problem or what he should do. And what happens though with managers though is they think they have to have all the answers. And so they just jump in. First of all, if there's a problem, the best thing a manager can do, and you can do to coach them, is help them to learn to ask questions. I used to do, I called it speed dating. And I made this activity up, so you guys can take this if it'll help you at all. And I made up like 60 questions, and I laminated them and put them in a little card deck. And I had the team line up facing each other. So they partner up and face each other. Now this isn't a normal world. Okay, now they might be 6 feet apart, but so they would face each other. They would all grab a question, and they had to just ask their partner the question and listen for a minute. So talk for a minute and just listen for a minute. Now you could ask more questions in that minute, but you could not respond or say, me too, or, oh my gosh, I had that happen to me, right? Because what happens is new managers or experienced ones who are not good at asking questions, they tend to want to go in their own head and regurgitate something they know versus just asking questions. And so getting better at this is just practicing it. So I would have them line up, and this one would ask a question, this person would answer it for 60 seconds. The person A could ask more questions and build upon it, but could not respond or add to the story, just ask questions. Then we would 60 seconds, we would do it the other way. Ask the question, they would respond and ask more. If they just answered it, then they had to come up with more questions. And then what we did is we shifted the line. So we did this like 5 or 6 times. So you had everybody asking different questions. You would be surprised at the skill of asking questions is very, what am I thinking of? It's a skill that's perishable. If we get in an environment where we are not encouraged to ask more questions or coach our employees, or we haven't been coached, to your point, Holly, earlier, it's a perishable skill. It doesn't just naturally start to happen. They'll go into directive mode and start telling. So as a coach, if you help them understand asking questions is the best thing to do when you're helping them solve, when they're helping their team members solve a problem. You also want to help them understand it's okay to let your person fail. I think a lot of managers are so scared to let their people fail because of their own ego and their own, oh my gosh, this is going to look bad on me. No, own that. Own that stuff, right? I'll give you an example, just a personal example. I was promoted into, this is when I was promoted directorship, and I was taking over a region that was failing, and like 100,000 a month, and they were supposed to be at 100,000 plus a month. So we're talking a 200,000 deficit, just to kind of put some context. My goal, there were 66 people in this region. My goal was to turn it around. This was like September 1st. By April of next year, there was only 2 people that I discerned were not willing or not able, right? And I was going to get those 2 people out. And within about 3 months, it was going a little slow, and there was, all kinds of drama, and you have to work through all of that. But I still believed. I had been there 7 years, and I was actually put on a personal improvement plan. And I think my boss at the time was, trying to push me a little bit, but I know he was nervous about results. They weren't coming fast, but I believed. And I was like, okay, but I was willing to let my people fail a couple months and take the brunt of it so that I could get them to go where I wanted them to go. To end the story, by April of next year, we were doing 96,000 positive, and I'd only let 2 people go. So, and it was in a tough time of recovering from the car crash, the automotive dropout in the market. So the thing is you have to be willing to help your manager understand that they're just like children. Children typically, or Shari, we learn the hard way, right? Like, man, it's okay to let your team members fail, but you have to be willing to know how far you're going to let it go. And you can't just let them crash and burn. You've got to be coaching them through the way. Like I was letting them know I believed in them. That was my in fact, when I ended up leaving the company, they did videos. I said, I believe, right? Like they remembered that. So because I'm willing to let people fail and go, Dad, my kids hate this. I'm like, all right, you want to fail? Go ahead and fail, right? It's not a reflection of me. And I think that's in parenting, we have that same problem. We're scared to let our kids fail because it might look bad on us. It only looks bad on you if you own it, or if you don't own it, actually. Own it and, hey, I let them do it. Absolutely. Same thing with managers. Does that make sense? Am I making sense here at all? Maybe we do a check-in here real quick. If anybody wants to unmute themselves or chat on Facebook. Hello, everyone. Does this, yes? Stephanie's thumbs up. Holly's shaking her head. Is this helping? Awesome. Okay. We'll just keep going and then we'll open it up. Next thing, set expectations. I think this is clear. So many times we think we're being clear and we're not. Well, it was perfectly clear to me. I mean, I had a friend like this. Well, it was very clear to me when I spoke to you, and I was like, but it wasn't clear to me. And I'm the one that has to get this done. So when you're setting expectations, it's important to say, what questions do you have? Are you clear on it? The other thing is, and it's all about the setup. So even when I hired people and I would train managers to do this, I would be like, listen, here's the deal. I'm going to be your best friend. I'm pretty fun. I'll send out things. We have meetings once a week. You're going down, your thing. Or I meet them in person at that point, tell them I just told them exactly what I expected. Every day, I'll leave you alone this first month. I'll probably check in with you every day. And then I'll back it off. Here's what I want you to know though. I believe in letting people fail. And I believe in helping you figure out your own problems. You could come to me with anything, but it doesn't always mean I'm going to give you a direct answer. Sometimes I'm going to let you figure it out on your own. The main thing is, don't make me do the part of the job I hate. And that is, holding you accountable because you didn't do your job, or you were honest with me, or, you said you did something and you didn't do it. If I ever catch you lying about anything, I'm not scared to do my job. And it's funny because I have a gentleman right now that he was a salesperson for me, with me. I mean, this would have been 2009 or so, around there. And he was a great salesperson for a year. And then he was going through some personal problems. And, I went out there and I drove out, and he called in after I drove 6 hours. And he thought I would sit in the hotel, and I didn't. You know what I did? I went out to his territory and met all his customers, or not all of them, it was huge. But the next day I had him come, and he come in and his shirt was like buttoned off, and his hair was just shuffled. And I just sat down, and I just always had 3 things in front of me. So I teach managers to have crucial conversations, only have 3 things, not 10 things. I always had those 3 things on the paper in front of me so that they could see it. I'm like, what do you think I did yesterday? He was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Blah. That's all I had to ask, 1 question. And to this day, I mean, he didn't like me. In the end, he ended up, I said, I gave him an option to help him, or he could leave, and he stayed for a while, then he left. And I knew he thought I was being tough. To this day, now we're good friends. And he emailed me and he said, Shari, you were always fair. You were always firm, but you were fair, and you were fun, but you were firm. Like, he goes, I get it now. I get what you did for me, but you set it up. Here's the difference between you and other managers as I look back, is you told me from the very beginning, you will do the tough parts of your job if you have to. And so it's all about the setup. So helping your new manager that you're coaching, asking them questions on how are they doing with being clear. The other thing is follow up, follow up, follow up. Oh, if it's not an email or a follow-up, it did not happen. So make sure, especially crucial conversations, you teach your managers, these are tactical things now, to follow up the conversation. Hey, it was great meeting with you today. I just want to make sure we're clear. These are the 3 things you're going to work on, or these are the 3 things we talked about, or hey, it's great conversation, even if it was good, great conversation tonight. I enjoyed hearing about your kids' baseball. always follow up every meeting with an email. I mean, had one time where a gentleman that was trying to sue me personally, and it was in that very first management position, and it was because we made him a job offer contingent on that he had no tickets on his record. Came back, he had 7 of them. And I had to let him go, and he tried to sue me personally. And what saved me was, at the time I used, a planner that you write in. My notes for every new hire were exactly the same. I couldn't have went back and erased it. And they actually, what do you call it? They asked for it in court. I had to give my planner to the court, and it got dismissed because every single new hire I had was exactly the same notes. And I checked off the box, took picture of driver's license, went over, conditions of employment. Yes. And it got dismissed because of my notes. Follow-up is huge. So hopefully, okay, we're going to keep going here. So ongoing feedback. The annual review should not be the first time they hear about issues or receive praise. So as you're coaching your managers, even if the company has a mid-year review or annual review, one of the best things you can do as a coach to coach a manager is to help them do ongoing feedback. And don't make it so we meet every Friday. That's not even what I mean. It's just, hey, how was your day today? Hey, just thought of you today. Pick up the phone. Haven't talked to you this week. Or, hey, I was with so-and-so and, you came up today. They wanted to say thank you. And I want to say thank you for what you showed them. Or, hey, I noticed in your email, can I share something with you? Like you're trying to help them do it better. The best thing you could do for a coach is helping a manager. One of the things is helping a new manager or experienced one know that feedback, again, this is about the connection, right, with somebody. Even if the policies of the company are different, helping them understand that it shouldn't just be in an annual review or mid-year review is what will help them move forward faster. And then asking them helping your manager ask the employee, what do you want out of our position? Asking them right up. Every time I hired anybody, or if somebody was transferred into my territory, or managers that I've coached, you know how many people don't do this? Why are you here? Just ask it. Why are you here? Well, I was excited about the mission of the company. These are the things you'll hear. Mission of the company, excited. Oh, I'm a great salesperson. Okay, great. Why are you here? What do you want to learn? And this will put some people back because you'll say, I don't want to hear about your 5-year goals. Okay, that's what I'm going to ask you. If you were to move on to another position that was bigger and better, whether it's internally or externally, what do you need to know? What do you want to learn? Give that question to your manager and help them say that question. Let them practice it and then listen, because now you have something concrete that you can manage them and teach them and coach them on, and everything. It sets this foundation that the manager, is in it for that person and their bigger goals, not just because we have to get results. Well, I'm going to help you get that while we get results for this job. How's that? Great. Everything we do then is going to be aimed at that, knowing that's what you want out of life in this position or the next one. And I'm going to help you get that. And we're going to use this job as a tool in which to do that. How's that sound? And I'm telling you, it'll help your managers become a better coach, because now you're helping them with leadership skills, right? That's what this is really about. And then follow up. Oh, I guess I'm actually good then. And follow up. It didn't happen. Bottom line is, couching. Outcomes of being a couching manager. Don't be a couching manager. Right? The outcomes of being a coaching manager and leader are clarity, right? Your manager is going to have clarity. The employees are going to have clarity. You're going to help your manager have improved performance and effectiveness. You're going to help your manager have increased engagement. Take a shot of this and then, edit that top part out. And the results, right? You're going to help your managers get results. I love coaching managers and people who want a leadership and come from a leadership mindset or have that desire. Those are my favorite people in the whole world to coach. And I hope this has helped you coaches understand, especially if you haven't done a lot in the corporate world or people who are managers, understand some basic practices and skills that they need. And so you can be a better coach for them. Ooh, okay, we did it. So now I'm going to unmute, or you guys can mute yourself and, let conversation, comments. I would love to hear comments, conversation, anything around this subject matter.
Well, thank you, Shari. This is Holly. And I think everything that you brought to us was valid. I think oftentimes, as you kind of showcased earlier in your presentation, people come in and they get very excited about, the process of coaching and selling themselves and the excitement about it and all the rest of it. But I think what's most helpful is if you go in and you try to listen for what's the pain that that person you're speaking with is encountering, and then direct your remarks to how coaching is going to help relieve that pain and take whatever their problem is, set it aside and set them up for success. So, the best thing to do is don't start talking about yourself, start talking about them.
Yes, and help your manager do the same thing, right?
Exactly.
And when you're talking about that manager, what do they want out of this, right? And be very clear about, why are they with you? Is it because somebody thought they sucked? Or is it somebody that sees their potential too? It'll set that tone when you're coaching the managers. I love it. Thank you. Yeah, no, this is good stuff. I love this. Again, I think there's so much opportunity for all of us, especially as, the Soar community, that we as coaches, there's enough to go around, right? There's 2,000 coaches on here, there's 4,000. I believe there's enough for everybody. I mean, how many people can you actually handle, right? I always like to put it in perspective when somebody says, but there's so many coaches on Soar. That's a good thing. It's kind of like the gas station theory, right? There's a gas station on one corner, it does okay. But if you have a gas station on all 4 corners of an intersection, they all thrive. It's the same thing. Soar is a hub for coaches. We're all going to have more traffic come to us. And I think the last stats, I like to say this, in Florida, do you know how many real estate agents are in Florida? Florida. Anybody? Anybody on Facebook now? Anybody want to chat a guess? Without Googling it, that's the thing. I'm not going to give you that long. It's like over 70,000. Just in Florida. There's enough to go around, right? There's enough to go around. So awesome. Anybody else have any wise tips and insights when it comes to coaching managers to be a coach? Or wants to offer anything? Let me check the chat. Well, I mean, I won't keep beating the dead horse here, but my goal, and I know Soar's goal, right, is to uplift humanity. And that's one of the ways is through coaching. And we know we have something so valuable to offer. And if you're listening to this recording, thank you, Holly. If you're listening to this recording as well, or if you're a team manager, or if you are an organization listening to this, and utilizing this particular webinar to help your managers, and you're looking for a coach or a trainer, go to soar.com. Holly Teska, Stephanie, Carolyn, we have lots of coaches who are on there who would be happy to come into your company and help you coach and train your employees to be better coaches and be better managers. So with that said, I will see you all next Thursday on Coach Uplift Weekly. And thank you all for being you. Bye, guys.